In this video, I'm going to show you how wrong I was about the most important thing needed to survive an unplanned night high up in the mountains.
Hey there, this is Creation Images, where I share my in-the-field landscape photography, the skills I've learned over 20 years of hiking and backpacking in the wilderness, as well as the insights and the inspirations that I've received along the way. If you're new here, go ahead and click on the subscribe button and ring the bell below so that you can receive notification every time I come up with a new adventure. Anyway, I hope this video is helpful to you, and I really appreciate you being here, so thanks for watching.
Outdoor recreation has exploded. More and more people are out exploring the high country and nature in general, whether that's backcountry skiing, climbing mountains, or just going on day hikes. I think that we can all agree that this is great news. The unfortunate side effect is that there's more opportunity for mishaps and accidents. In my area, Rocky Mountain National Park has seen a record number of visitors every year. There were 341 separate search and rescue operations in Rocky from 2018 to 2020, and that number is steadily increasing. For me personally, I've always wondered how I would handle an emergency, even something as simple as an unplanned night high up in the mountains. So far I've dodged that bullet, but just barely. I think that anything you want to get better at, you've got to practice. So I decided to record myself simulating an unplanned overnight. I'm going to camp on the top of 12,255 foot Fall Mountain right up there, and I'm not going to be taking a tent or a tarp or a sleeping bag or any other kind of shelter. I'm just going to be hanging out in the elements. I'm going to sleep up there overnight, and I'm going to be taking you with me. There are a lot of reasons why you might be stuck up in the mountains and have to stay overnight. Simple reasons, and it wouldn't necessarily be a catastrophe. Things like just underestimating the amount of time that it takes you to take your return journey, or a severe ankle sprain that just makes you limp along and you're overdue. Even weather conditions, if there's fog that rolls in and makes visibility really low, you start to misnavigate. So there's many reasons why you may be stuck up in the mountains and have to spend the night up there unplanned. We all know that there are hazards with hiking and backpacking, so you should always start by bringing the 10 essentials. You can check out rei.com for this list of 10 essentials. It includes things like navigation, headlamp, sun protection, first aid kit, a knife, fire, shelter, extra food, water, and clothes. Unexpected and unfortunate things happen while in the wilderness. And while the 10 essential items for hiking and backpacking are a good place to start, it doesn't necessarily tell you what the one most important thing is. And that's what this video is going to be all about. If you have to stay overnight, what is the one thing that you really need to leverage so that you can do that in the most comfortable way possible? There used to be a huge trail sign here. That's the main trail that keeps going up, and this is the trail that heads up towards Mummy Pass and Fall Mountain, where I'm going to be spending the night. And yeah, there was a gigantic trail sign here, and it was a very obvious turnoff until a forest fire came through and took it all out. And so now I almost missed my turnoff while I was talking to the camera just a moment ago. Incidentally, when I say things like I'm happy to take you with me in my videos, I'm glad to have you here with me, those aren't just words. I actually think a lot while I'm hiking about you, my viewer, and knowing that I'm going to be sharing this experience with you gives me the courage and the stamina and the strength a lot of times to go through some of the things that I'm doing. And I'm going to need a lot of strength tonight while I overnight without any sort of shelter. So thank you for being here. Thank you for coming with me. In this video, I'm going to show you 3 ways to leverage the number 1 thing on this list of 10 essential items that you need when you go hiking. And then I'm going to record myself being tested overnight
while I try to sleep on the cold tundra up over 12,000 feet without a tent, a sleeping bag, or even a bivy sack. Before we get too much farther, I do want to make one disclaimer, and that is that the relationship that everybody has with the wilderness and the high country is all very personal. And I'm doing what I'm doing based on my experience level and based on my comfort level, which is different than everybody else's. For some people, what I'm doing tonight is no big deal at all. For others, it could turn into a survival situation. So you need to make sure that you make choices and decisions based on what your experience is, and you need to always take responsibility for your own actions in the wilderness. And one other thing just to mention, in full disclosure, I'm not willing to put myself at risk for extra YouTube likes or views. And so I do have plenty to keep me safe while I'm up here, including food and water. And I am actually bringing a bivy sack that I'm going to throw and keep in my backpack, but it is there just for emergencies in case the night becomes too miserable for me to handle. But anyway, this is a way for me to test myself, make sure that whatever you do is based on what you're comfortable with. Oh yeah, I also wanted to mention that not only am I going to be sharing the most important thing that you need for an unplanned overnight, but also at the end of the video, I'm going to share with you my 3 most important, most favorite pieces of gear that I would never be caught dead without. So be sure to stick around to the end of the video so you can check that out as well. Here we are on the summit of Fall Mountain, which is where I'm going to spend the night tonight. This is the view from the actual top. All right, so here's the big reveal. The one thing that you need more than anything to help you with an overnight that's unplanned is extra clothing or extra layers. That's number 10 on the REI list of 10 essential things that you need to take with you when you go hiking in the mountains. Now, the thing is, you're going to need to leverage this. And by leverage, I mean you need to make some informed decisions based on your activity that you're going to be doing that day. So if you're just going for a hike up in the park with, for like an hour and there's going to be lots of people, blue skies, you might take an extra jacket just in case it gets windy or cold. For me, I did check the forecast and it's supposed to get down to the 30s tonight with 30-mile-an-hour wind gusts. So if I were to be coming up here, I would want to take extra layers. Now, how do you leverage that into the 3 most important things to consider? The first one is insulation. So these are my insulation layers that I brought for tonight. First of all, I have what I have on, which is just a long sleeve wicking shirt and then this Patagonia hoodie. But then I also brought a fleece that's going to help keep me warm this evening. And then this is probably overkill, but I kind of was okay with overkill for tonight. I brought a puffy jacket. That's going to be insulation for my top. And I brought one of my favorite things, which is a Western mountaineering down puffy pants. And these are going to keep my legs warm tonight. So insulation is number 1. Number 2 on the list is something to keep you dry and protect you from the wind. So I have a rain jacket here that's going to double as a wind jacket and protection from the rain in case it starts to rain like it did just a little bit earlier. And then I also have another one of my favorite things, which is my Arc'teryx wind pants. These are Gore-Tex, 100% windproof, 100% waterproof, a little bit pricey, but well worth the cost. Now, the third thing that people don't always consider when they're thinking about bringing extra layers with them is, I think, critical. You can't forget your head, hands, and feet. So that's number 3 on the list here. I brought a pair of gloves for my hands, a hat/balaclava for my head and my face. It's really important that you keep your head warm. You lose a lot of heat through your head. And then the last thing I'm really proud of is my foot system to keep my feet warm. I have some, these are alpaca wool socks and plastic bags. This is called a vapor barrier system. Not a lot of people do it, but I think it's going to keep my feet nice and toasty tonight. So those are the 3 things that you need to really leverage
the extra layers that you're going to be bringing with you to just make sure that you're safe if you end up having to stay overnight. It was a rough night. The space blanket didn't help at all. And when I wimped out and crawled into my bivy sack, it didn't help much either. I was going to be miserable no matter what layers I had on, but I had to be honest with myself. I physically wasn't that cold, not dangerously cold. Most of my suffering was in my head.
That was a pretty miserable night. I made it until about 1 o'clock this morning without the bivy sack, and then I couldn't handle it anymore. I tried the space blanket around my feet, put an extra pair of socks on my feet, but my feet could never get warm. Then I actually put the the dry bags around my feet too. Anything I could to get my feet to stay a little warmer. And then the winds picked up, started blowing the space blanket around, and the wind, it probably dropped down to about 35 last night, and with the wind chill, it was much colder than that. So I gave up, got into the bivy sack, and still froze most of the night because the ground is so cold. So I just flipped from one side to the other, and that cold from the ground just seeps up through your clothing and presses up against you, and you just sit and shiver.
While extra layers are certainly important, they're just not enough. It took me a few days to figure out what I'd been missing. The game changer is something that you can have with you all the time. The mental fortitude to be able to face discomfort and even suffering with equanimity. I clearly need to practice this more. Daily meditation is a good place to start. Instead of seeking comfort and distraction, look for ways to be uncomfortable. Cold showers, intermittent fasting, maybe taking a day with no music, video, or internet. For me, simply getting up when my alarm goes off and learning to do it with non-judgmental acceptance might be a way to learn to be uncomfortable with this kind of equanimity. I think that is the key to surviving in the wilderness with grace.
So I survived the night. It was cold and miserable, and I know for sure that I learned I never ever want to be stuck outside up in the high country in this kind of wind without having a lot of extra insulation. So that's something that I learned. I hope you got something out of the video. Now I want to go over the 3 things I would never leave home without. Number 1,
Actually, this is third place, would be my trekking poles. Sometimes on a short hike, I go without the trekking poles, but I love these Black Diamond poles with the flick lock adjustments. They're very durable. I always put some duct tape on these guys so I can have that as an emergency repair for anything. But the trekking poles have saved my butt many times from falls, and helps getting across logs and that kind of thing. So trekking poles. Number 2, I'm about to lose my stuff here. Number 2 is a fanny pack. Not the best fashion sense, but a good size fanny pack allows me to carry things that I've got snacks in here. I can put my GoPro in here, a small drink, anything that I want to have quick access to while I'm hiking. I love a fanny pack. I've been hiking with a fanny pack for many years. And then the last thing that I never leave home without when I'm backpacking is my Hyperlight Porter 2200. This is extremely durable Dyneema material. It's 100% waterproof, and it's basically just one big gigantic stuff sack. I can put a ton of stuff in here. This is larger than a lot of people might need for regular backpacking, but with all my camera gear and everything, I need the extra space. And the bonus for this one is I used it as a makeshift sleeping pad last night, and that worked out really well. So those are my 3 things that I use constantly, that I'd never leave home without. And again, I thank you for being here. I couldn't do this, I wouldn't do this without you, and I'll see you again next time.